Boys, welcome back to the channel. Now, as the title suggests, I have played way too many games with Wargreymon the past few weeks. I've actually been playing, it's really hard to tell you exactly how many games I've played, but just based off going to tournaments and locals, I've played at least 50 games. There was testing before set 4 releases, and there hasn't really been a lot of testing after the set's released. I've been playing other decks as well, but there's been some, a little bit there. And then of course there was all of Japanese meta, because if you guys don't know, I actually started playing competitively this game when set 4 got released in Japan, but Japan meta and English meta are different because we actually had different, Japan didn't have the promos that are released like we do now, so the games are different. So what I'm trying to say is I played a lot of games of Wargreymon. I've gone through a bunch of different iterations of Wargreymon. My favorite mechanic in the game is the DP reduction mechanic, which is why I like the Wargreymon deck. And I just want to share you guys my experiences. So this is going to be a combination of a retrospective, a deck profile. I can talk about some of the tournaments I went to, matchups, things like that. I wish I wrote down a script, but I didn't. So everything's going to be going off the dome. Maybe in future videos I'll write down a script. But before we even get to that, hey, like the channel if you haven't already, subscribe, share, all that good jazz. Let me know if you guys like these kinds of videos, because I can do more of these videos. I can maybe even tack on games to the end of this. It depends on how long this video will take, because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking in this video. But Wargreymon. I'm just going to go ahead and just start talking about the big boy himself. So Wargreymon, we all know what he does, right? Minus 6k on attack, restand, and that's it, right? And to take a prize card, so you're drawing extra cards. So over here I have cards that I like, cards that I don't like, and things I'm going to be trying in the future as well, because we're constantly evolving. We're going to be trying out some new ideas with Wargreymon as well. But I will say that overall my record with this Wargreymon is very, very positive. I won quite a few locals. We did not do great at the tournament because I didn't get as much testing against Kawagamon Green as I would like. I've gotten a lot since then. But I didn't get as much as I would like against Green Kawagamon. But other than that, very happy with how the tournament went, because all the other games were phenomenal. I even won most of the Green Kawagamon games as well. And yeah, overall, pretty excited. And of course, I've always been topping the locals as well. But usually when I win a locals, win a locals, right? I like to make a video about it, but because it's Wargreymon and everyone knows Wargreymon, I didn't really feel like there would have been any interest in the video itself. So I haven't been doing it, and I decided to make this retrospective again so we can go more into detail. So Wargreymon has board control, has aggression. Its problems, only 11k DP, which means you can die to security very easily, especially in America, where people really like playing security control, which I'll be talking about later in the video. But security control is problematic. Obviously, Mega Zoo is problematic. Another thing that Americans like playing is Mega Zoo, especially me. I love Mega Zoo. It's probably my favorite deck. I have to try it in this format, but it's definitely my favorite deck last format. And just general high DP guys in security means that sometimes you just die before you get that second swing. Most of the time, one swing is all you really need, because you get to proc the effects of some of your Digimon, but it'd be even better if you got 2 swings, because that means you get to proc both effects. So obviously, the problem of only having 11k DP is annoying, and there's not many easy ways to increase the power. Wargreymon gives you 12k, but 12k is not enough. You really want to hit 13k or more, because you want to be able to get past the 12k DP guys, because that's what you'll be dying to the most. And then there's always things like Nidhoggmon that's 13k, and obviously there's the level 7s that are all 13k or more. So in a perfect world, it'd be 14 or even 16, but obviously that can't happen. Yellow doesn't have that kind of power boost. When I was playing this deck as Wargreymon Red, you lost a lot of the consistency, but you gained that power. You usually just straight up win games in a turn in Wargreymon Red. And that's whenever, if you guys don't know what Wargreymon Red is, it's the red version of Wargreymon, where you play Sylphimon and Risegreymon, because they're both red Digimon. They're both red Digimon that are also yellow Digimon. So those are your 8 level 5s. Then you just evolve your Wargreymon on top of it, and now you are usually a +1 security attacking Wargreymon, but you get none of the good, you get no other really good cards. Sure, you can become a little bit extra powerful. In a perfect scenario, you will be what, 1, 2, you only be like 13k because you gain 1k from your egg, 1k from like an Agumon, or the other Agumon that gives you 2k, which will put you at what, 14k, which is really nice. And then you have security attack +1 on your Greymon, and then you have the Rise Greymon or the Sylphimon. Rise Greymon means you do -2k if you have a tamer, which is kind of nice. But really your power, like you want to have security attack +1 and you want to have your power boosters in the bottom. That deck is okay. It's really just not as consistent though, because a lot of the benefit of playing Wargreymon Yellow are the rookies, which we'll be talking about momentarily as well. So that list I still play for fun, but I stopped playing it for to continue playing the yellow version. So Wargreymon Yellow has a lot of benefits. The swings you get from your level 5s, and then your rookies are all really great as well. So that's why Wargreymon is a fun deck. So the level 6s are going to be big, but I kind of want to talk about them last. We're going to actually start with the rookies. We might as well start with the very beginning. And actually, we're going to start at the very beginning with the eggs. I am playing 4 Upamon and 1 Koromon. So let me tell you Koromon, and let me tell you why I'm not playing this card as well. Salamon. I really like Salamon at first. Salamon gives you the inheritable of -1k on attack, and it's not once per turn. So when Wargreymon attacks twice, that means you get 2 -1ks. Great against some decks, but definitely not great against most decks, because it's a big win more card, and you do use Digiburst in this deck as well, so sometimes you just lose it, or you want to keep like your Upamon. You have to choose between your Upamon and Salamon, and Upamon's draw is what keeps this deck consistent. You really want to be sure to be drawing in this deck, because you really got to find your pieces, because just like Red Omnimon, this is an evolution based deck with extra steps. Essentially you have extra cards, but in reality you're still an evolution based deck, which means if you guys have played Red Wargreymon before, or Red Omnimon, or any deck that's like full evolution based, you know that you're prone to bricking, because you are playing a lot of evolution pieces that you need to evolve into. And with yellow it's even worse, because the level 5s and most of the level 4s, actually, they're not cheap to play down. You don't have an easy way to hard play these guys. And if you do, you're giving up a lot of memory, because you can play cheaper costs to play dudes, but if you do, then you're giving up a lot of the best effects that happens when you're attacking with Wargreymon. So Upamon, I feel like, has to be a 4 card, unless you just you have the power of God Hand. I don't know what to tell you. If you draw really well all the time, then you don't need Upamon. Koromon, just like I mentioned with Salamon, it's a win more. It's nice to be able to delete something with 7k DP. Instances where that comes up is Blossomon against green. There's some other 7k guys, but in reality it's not the most important thing. Usually you can just play around a lot of the dudes. So Koromon is nice. This is a good card for sure, but this card is just better because consistency is key, especially when it comes to evolution based decks. So let's talk about the rookies now. So let me go over the story of the rookies. All right, at one point I was playing 14 rookies. At another point I was playing 18 rookies, because I really wanted to make sure that throughout the game I always had a card I could play down from my hand, because one of this deck's biggest weaknesses is sometimes you just don't have cards you can play from your hand for cheap. Sometimes they're really expensive, and that can be very annoying. I've gone down to, I believe, 15 for the time being, and I'm not playing Lucemon. And I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. 2 reasons why I'm not playing Lucemon. One, I think Lucemon's a big brick. I don't like Lucemon. It's great when it works, and I think it can work really well, especially with the style of deck I'm playing, but it's just a huge brick. Like I mentioned earlier, like you can't evolve into Lucemon, you can't evolve over Lucemon. It's going to be 5 costs to play, only late game, and it's recover 1. It just doesn't feel like it does the most, you know what I mean? Like, it's powerful. 10k is not bad, but 10k is still like not super strong either, on all things considered. And giving up 5k to recover, or 5 memory to recover 1, could sometimes be problematic. It'd also save you the game, but there's other ways to do that as well, you know what I mean? So I'm not playing Lucemon, and the other reason why I'm not playing Lucemon is because they're so expensive. I did not pull a single Lucemon from my 5 boxes I opened, so I never got to playtest it myself. I'm still trying to get one so I can give you guys an even more deeper detail of like how I think about the deck after playing Lucemon. But I will say that from my experiences playing the deck in Japan, as well as my experiences just in this game, I don't think Lucemon would be amazing in this deck. That being said, one card that I really was playing 2 of, 3 of, and then eventually landed into the 4 of because I had to, was Pulsemon. This card is nutty. We can jump ahead real quick to the AURABOMB here, but AURABOMB is another reason why this deck gets made. Its ability to attack, and then when attacking, you can summon a level 3 or lower yellow Digimon from your hand if you have 3 or less security, is really strong because yellow has an obscenely large amount of very good rookies. You have Lucemon, which is a card that you can play off the AURABOMB, but once again, Lucemon means that you can't evolve from your level 2 into it, which is in a sense a brick. It also means that you can't hard play it for cheap, so that's also a brick. You know what I mean? Like, it just causes bricking issues. While Pulsemon is great for multiple reasons. If you have 3 or more security, you get to draw a card. So if you guys play blue, Gabumon, slap it down, and it has more power DP than Gabumon at 2k, which is actually kind of useful. And if you have 3 or fewer security, you get to gain a memory. Which means if you have 3 security, you get both the effects of draw and gain a memory, which means this becomes a 2-cost hard play and also a draw 1. But more importantly, if you play it off the AURABOMB when you're attacking with Wargreymon, you gain a memory and draw a card without paying anything. So Pulsemon is excellent. It's essentially a 2-cost most of the game because you usually try to keep yourself at 3 security, and at early game it becomes just a +1 draw, which this deck, once again, you need to draw because you're an evolution based deck. I'm trying to think what else I should say. I want to talk about the games. I'm trying to figure out how I can like squeeze in the games without finishing the deck profile. We'll just keep going. For Salamon, this deck, what I really like about this deck and what I've gained to respect about this deck is that this deck can constantly recover as well as like taking hits, right? When you're playing Wargreymon, you're essentially playing a game of chicken, right? Because your effects proc after you go to 3 memory, right? 3 security, I should say. But to get to 3 security, you either have to play Blinding Ray, play this card right here, Lopmon, which is 3 costs, draw 2 because you draw 1 from your security, and then you draw 1 from the top of your deck. I'm not playing this. I think this card's great, but not for what I'm going for. I think the rookies that I'm playing at the moment are better. This is not terrible, but it's not really what I want. But for those of you that don't have Pulsemon or don't have a bunch of Pulsemons, this could easily replace a Pulsemon. I know that some people only have 1, 2, 3. If you want to replace some of these Pulsemons, you don't get that memory gain, which is like a huge part of Pulsemon, but you do get that early game draw. It's draw 2 actually, and can actually proc off your Wargreymon, because the second your opponent takes 1 security from you, it's game on. From there, you attack with Wargreymon, you take a security, activate all your effects, and you're just snowballing from there. But like I said before, when you play Wargreymon, you're playing a game of chicken, especially when you're playing the mirror. It becomes who wants to attack first, and if they attack, how much damage are they doing with that attack? You know, they have to be doing a substantial amount of damage for it to matter. But like 1 swing on you is just good for you. And then Salamon, that's why Salamon comes into play, right? You can play Salamon off the AURABOMB, you can play it off some other effects, but the whole thing is Salamon's great for putting your opponent's memory down to 1-2, because if you start with a TK and you have 3 memory, you play this down, hard play it, your opponent's down to 1. So it's a good memory control card for that reason. It lets you recover all the time. It's a free swing. This card's just too good. I was playing it at a 2 of count, went up to a 3 of, and landed at a 4 of. This card, I don't think I want to change it from a 4 of. It's really, really good in Wargreymon, since you're always taking your own security. Next is a card that I really want to play as a 4 of, but a 3 of has been working just fine for me, and I think it was worth the cut, and that is 3 Bushi Agumon. Just like I mentioned earlier with the the AURABOMB, being able to play this card from your hand using AURABOMB's effect is great, because that just means you get a whole extra swing because you get rush, which means you can attack the same turn it gets played down. Great. Good card, amazing card. It is 5 cost to play, which is why it's been cut down a little bit. It's also a free evolution, so this is what I'm talking about when it comes to Lucemon. Lucemon would be good if you could evolve it, but since you can't evolve it, this card is less of a brick in your hand, because if you start with this rookie, at the very least you can play it down and or evolve from your level 2 to draw a card at the very least. And really you only need 1 or 2 Bushi Agumons to close out the game, so it's really easy to save these throughout the game until where it matters the most. Yellow Wargreymon does have huge OTK potential. I can't tell you how many times I've won the game without even attacking, but just attacking all in one turn because of it. I've had so many times where I've had 2 Bushi Agumons in hand, Wargreymon ready to attack twice, and then like some other 1 or 2 extra Digimon on the board that can help finish things off. Like, think about it like that. Wargreymon attacks twice. That's 2 swings. Bushi Agumon, assuming you play them both down from the Angewomon, that's 2 more attacks, and then you just have to have 2 more Digimon on the board, and you can swing the game. You can swing for game like that. Also, that doesn't include any other like prior damage you've done throughout the game. Bushi Agumon, wonderful card. Love this card. Want to play 4, but I couldn't bring myself to play 4 because I really like the memory control that yellow can give you. So I am choosing to play 2 Tsukaimon. This card, it's, what can I say? It's 2 costs to play. This is really good because when you have 3 memory, you can hard play Tsukaimon and then evolve the Tsukaimon into one of your blockers. So this is why I like the Tsukaimon the most, because just being able to just bunker up your board, play a few blockers down so your opponent can't attack. Like, you can put down like 2 blockers because you can play down Tsukaimon, evolve it into your Patamon, assuming you start with TK, of course. So now you're at 0 memory, then you just hard play one of your blockers. Sure, you give your opponent a lot of memory, but now you have 2 blockers on the board. And the thing about yellow is that you have a lot of recovery and you have a lot of blockers. So while you're setting up your Wargreymon, you are very, very defensive. And hopefully, if you're lucky, unlike me, your opponents will die to security checks in the meantime. It's very annoying because the thing about yellow is that yellow's DP isn't the highest, so your opponents don't always die to security unless they hit something like your Chaosmon or something like that. And you play TK, so you have a generally good idea of what's going to happen to your opponent if they do security checks. So you can play with that in mind as well, so you get a lot of free knowledge that way. So that's rookies, and then we have one more, and it's the Patamon. Patamon's a good card. So I will say it's something I found out. Wong Zero made a video. If you guys don't know Wong Zero, check him out. He made a video, a little short, I think it was, of Patamon, and it was. I found out he made this video not because I watched it, which is embarrassing. I don't look at YouTube shorts. Like, it's just something I don't look at. But but because in the tournament I got yelled at by one of the Green Kawagumon players that this all Wong's fault. Which is really funny. No, this is not. I've always been playing Patamon even since set 4. I just think Patamon's a good card when you can just summon it off Angewomon. It also becomes kind of like a pseudo blocker if you're at 0 memory, because you play it down and you recover 1 memory. It can also just generally recover you. It's mostly good because of Wargreymon, I think, because you can easily put yourself at 4 memory, hard play the Patamon, and then now you can reproc Wargreymon's effect. But I am playing 2 Patamon, just 2. I was playing a higher count. I just cut it down because I really like these other cards a little bit more. Patamon's more of a last resort. By the time it hits that point where you're at 0 memory, you should probably have a Patamon in hand, or like about your Patamons just in general. So I do think the 2 Patamons are fine. Let's recover 1 if you're at 0 memory, in case that wasn't clear yet. But that's it for rookies. And as you can see, we have 4, 8, 12, 15 rookies. So we have 15 Digimon that we can open up the game with and evolve, because they all are able to evolve from level 2s for free. Huge in an evolution-based deck. I can't stress that enough. So rookies are the most important part when it comes to evolution-based deck. You want to make sure that your rookies not just are cheap, not can just evolve, but they can usually do something useful as well. And I think, yeah, there's no other rookies that I really want to talk about. There's always other 2K guys like Salamon and whatnot, but for the most part, I can't think of any other rookies that are worth mentioning. This is easily the most important part of the yellow deck, because this is where your good abilities lie, thanks to Angewomon. Now for the least most important part of the yellow deck, and that is the champions. And I am going just straight vanilla, but I do want to mention something about it too. So for Tsururimon, for Patamon, and for Unimon, we are playing 12 level 4s, because once again, evolution based deck, you want to make sure you can find them. Now, I see a lot of people cut the Unimon because obviously, oh look, I already play like 8 blockers. Who cares if I cut 1 blocker if it means that I need space for a deck or something like that. If I were to make a cut for any of these guys, it would have to be one of these boys, I think. For different reasons. I would tell you why I won't cut Unimon. because unlike these guys, Unimon's 5 cost to play. That's pretty big. That's very, very useful because you can actually cut the memory your opponent might have if you have to hard play it. You don't really want to give your opponent 3 memory like ever. Obviously, if they have a tamer in play, at that point it doesn't matter. But if you can avoid it, 3 memory is a lot of memory. Most people can make plays with 3 memory. They can't make as many plays with 1 or 2 memory. And that's where Unimon comes into play, because once again, if you're forced to hard play one of your level 4s because you don't have a rookie in hand, Unimon's the way to go. That being said, there's a reason why I would cut one of these 2. Blocker is useful. Blocker is always useful. Like I said, this deck is really bulky, it's really defensive, you want to bunker up, and I think Patamon is great for that. So that is cool. The problem with Patamon is that it's only 5k DP. So things like Nidhoggmon and Omnimon Alter S, they'll get rid of you, which is a problem. So Tarurimon is 6k DP, they won't get rid of your Tarurimon. That's pretty big. Obviously, they're all bad against the mirror match because they all have 6k or less. But if I were to cut one just based off what I just said, I would cut one Patamon. So if you're looking to build this deck and you only want 11 champions, my suggestion would be cut one Patamon. There's too much hate in this game right now for 5k. Alter S from Megazoo and just red or black decks in general hate you. Nidhoggmon hates you, and Nidhoggmon is everywhere in all the green decks. So, and of course, 5k is just like not high. Like, this is the most useless card against Rookie Rush because they're just going to hit over you with one of their 2-drop greens. They have Lilomon and AURABOMB. Like, it's just going to hit over you. Who cares? Unimon's much better as a blocker in general in the game. Sure, it's not as cheap, but at this point, you're already going to have 7 1-drops. It's not the end of the world if you lose one of them for a 2-drop, especially since you play TK. Like, you already have the memory gainer. So like it's fine. You'll be fine. That's my opinion on the level 4s. There's not many other level 4s. I can check my binder real quick, but I don't think there's any other relevant level 4s that exist. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. There's Gatomon if you want to play the promo Gatomon for some reason, but I don't think there's anything relevant there. And now for the most important part, the level 5s, and I do have quite a bit to say about this. I was playing 9. Now I'm down to just 8, and 8 has been fine for me. I really want to make space for more Blinding Rays and TKs and Chaos Mons. You have so many good cards in your top end that you have to make cuts somewhere. I usually like to go, if I were to build this deck legit, it's like 15, the way I would build most ratios for deck, 15, 12, 9, and then 7. That's what I would usually do. Not doing that at the moment, but it's fine. So AURABOMB, another stall card. When you evolve, you give one of your opponent's Digimon security attack -2. Just a great effect on top of a great EES, evolution source skill. We already discussed his evolution source skill. Kind of insane. Also the artwork. That aside, AURABOMB is great. Now for a card that I feel like is heavily overvalued, but still really good, and that is the Wargreymon. I'm only playing 3. I want to play 4. I don't want to play 4 at the same time. Honestly, I want to go down to 2. I haven't made that jump yet, but I might do that in the future. Wargreymon has Digiburst 2 to reduce your opponent's DP by 4,000. This pairs well with Slash Angemon because -4,000. Then you evolve into Wargreymon. That's -12k. That's free removal of a Mega right there. Very cool. Very nice. It also gives you +1k DP. That almost never matters. You never hit in, at least for me it hasn't mattered. I played a lot of games. And maybe it'll help you against green if you hit into a Grand Quagamon in security. That's about it though. It's not going to help you otherwise. -4k is just good for clearing out weaker dudes on the board. Usually just rookies, like if they ever decide to play down a rookie and you're just like, haha, let me get rid of that right now. So if they ever try to like swarm the board against you, Wargreymon is excellent on top of the Wargreymon as well. So yes, Wargreymon. And then I am playing one other card, and that is the Recovery AURABOMB. I will say at first, I thought this card was kind of like lame. Like just in general, I don't like evolving and then recovering because you're forced to evolve. But it has 7k DP, which is good because that means you dodge the likes of Wargreymon in the raising, and you dodge the effects of Wargreymon in the mirror. And recovering 1 on evolution is just nice in general. It's like I said, all these effects besides Wargreymon, give you some sort of defense, right? You have the Salamons, which will recover for you if they die. Patamon recovers for you. These give you security attack -1. You have 8 blockers, and you have this that gives you recovery +1 as well. So you're constantly putting yourself in a position to where you're not going to die the following turn. And every time you don't die the following turn, or lose the following turn, I should say, that gives you another turn to win the game. And that is great for yellow. Andromon it's just good. It's also only 6 to hard play as well, which is huge for a champion and makes me kind of want to play 2 for sure. Something I'm going to consider in the future. I'm going to maybe try this out with like only 2 Wargreymon, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've played a lot, and I mean a lot of games with this. Like the title suggests, I played a lot of games with this deck. The Wargreymon into slash play doesn't come up as much as you think it does. Sure, it's really nice to be able to just pop something on the board. The problem is that throughout the game, you're already popping guys. They don't get megas on the board very easily, and by the time they do, they've already like done their stuff with the mega. Like they've already attacked, and you're just gonna swing over it, or they've already like evolved it into an ultimate, and then you just can't do that play anymore. And then of course you have to find. And by the way, I have to keep this in mind. I played the majority of this deck with 4 Wargreymons, 4 Andromons, none of this Andromon. So I was playing it with 4 Wargreymon, and that still never came into play. 4 Wargreymon and 3 slash. At the very beginning, I was playing 4 Wargreymon and 4 slash. You still have to find the 2 cards, and Wargreymon has to have been evolved up from at least a level 3. So it is what it is. I don't think it's as consistent as people think it is, and I don't think it's as great as it is, because your opponents are going to be hiding in the raising area until they become the mega, and then they can start doing stuff, because that's what the smart players would do, so they don't get killed by you. And it's just that simple. And also Wargreymon into Wargreymon is enough. Like -10k is enough to clear some guys as well. So these are the ultimates I'm playing, and I'm very happy with them. Like I said, I might even increase the count of this, but for the time being, I haven't been ready to make that jump yet. I think for now, this is what I want to do. I've been very happy with it. And of course, we got to talk about the megas. Now, here is where I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff, because I want to talk about my matchup so far. I have been doing really well in the mirror. I've been doing really well against pretty much every color. Purple, green. I've been doing pretty good versus green. Green is like the most. Green kind of has an advantage towards your deck, which is kind of annoying, but it's still pretty. You can still win that game. So I've done pretty well against green. What else have I played? I played against black. I've played against. I'm trying to think about the decks I play a lot against. I play a lot against red, a lot against black, some against blue. I've dealt with Imperial Dramon quite a bit. People love playing Imperial Dramon. Lots of mirror, lots of Kuwagamon. So yeah, I played against everything. I can't think of anything I haven't really played against at the moment. And the one deck that's really, really hard for me to beat is Security Control. And I'm going to talk about the changes to this deck I'm going to be making to deal with Security Control and just security decks in general, and also push the OTK aspect of this deck a little bit more as well. But let's first go over the Wargreymons. We do have 4 in this list. I'm not playing around with 3. 3 is what I tried at first with 4 slash. I ended up feeling like every time I lost the game, it was because I couldn't find my Wargreymon. So now I'm up to 4 Wargreymon. I like 4 Wargreymon. Wargremon's a good card. And I was playing 2 slash, and 2 slash has been doing great for me. And then the new mega I've been playing that I really undervalued, but I think is excellent now after playing it for a few games now. I think I played it for like 15 games now, and that is Magna Dramon, dude. This card is crazy, and not for the reasons you think. Sure, it's really good for the hard play to recover to make sure you don't lose the following turn, just like I mentioned with all the other cards, and that means you can win the following turn. But also, it's when attacking skills play level 3 from your hand, and like I mentioned, we have Bushiagamon, which is another attack. We have Pulsemon, which is a memory. We have Patamon, which is a recover +1. We have Salamon, which is just more, which means that the following turn you can bunker up even more by letting your Salamons die. Magna Dramon is insane. You can evolve into it and just get all the benefits without even having to hard play. But if you hard play it, you do get a lot of benefits as well. And yes, I am playing 8 megas. I am playing 8 megas because Magna Dramon is also kind of a hard play card, so it kind of does not count as the mega in my, at least when I'm building it. I usually want to play with 7, but because Magna Dramon's a hard play, it kind of, to me, feels like an option as well. It's kind of a combination. It's really weird, but I hope you guys are following my logic. Now to talk about the card I'm going to try next. I am going to cut Slash in my future builds, and I am going to play beautiful Mastamon. I think Mastamon is going to be insane in this deck. The problem, as long as I keep 6 megas, I'm not too worried about my Chaosmon being consistent, right? And Mastamon is going to be insane, dude. Being able to, against security control, remove the security, remove your own security to proc your own effects, which means that, like, you can start procking your own, like, Angelmon and stuff like that, and then play down a rookie from your discard pile is crazy. It's crazy because your Salamons are going to die, your Pulsemons are going to die, your Patamons are going to leave the field, and more importantly, your Bushi Agumons are going to be gone at some point too. And you can just recover them. So now, you not only do you have to like keep cards in your hand throughout the game and be very picky about what cards you want to play, which is the big part, right? You don't have to be picky anymore. You can just play cards, know they're going to go to the trash, and then just play them again later when you evolve from Mastamon, especially when it comes to Pulsemon. Because with Pulsemon, you evolve in the Mastamon, you play down the Pulsemon, and then Pulsemon recovers you a memory, and then it's still your turn. And then you get to swing, you usually have Angelmon underneath, which means you get to activate Angelmon's effect, and then play down another card from your hand, and then all of a sudden you had 2 more bodies on the board, a swing with something that's 12k, by the way, which means it can be 13k if you have Wargreymon underneath, which means that you are much more likely to survive with security when you attack with Mastamon too. And, like I mentioned, free security removal. So this thing is already 2 checks without even having to attack the first time, which means, unlike Wargreymon, if you lose, if you die in the first check, you still are taking 2 security because of the first security you took with Mastamon's ability already. So Mastamon, I think, is wonderful, and I really cannot wait to try it out over Slash. Just because the direction I'm taking with this deck lately, it just feels like this deck has become more of an OTK strat than it has become a... It has become more of an OTK strat with good control than it is become a control deck with good OTK potential. So, like I mentioned, and I'm just going to do it live right now on stream, I am going to be testing Mastamon. I just hate losing against security control. I hate losing against security control because against security control, I feel like I don't have an out. Like it's either they draw poorly and I win, or I lose because they drew at least okay. You know what I mean? And because Wargreymon has an 80% chance of dying against the good security control list. And when I say security control, I'm talking about stuff like the name, what everyone calls it, Sierra Mist, like blue, yellow, green Megazoo, other Megazoo, and just regular security control, and just things like that. Like, you have an 80% chance of dying when you attack security with the Wargreymon. It does not feel good. Or at least put back to your hand, or having have a security effect activate, stuff like that. Does not feel good in the slightest. And by the way, I don't like the name Sierra Mist. Just putting that out there. It's controversial, I get it. I think the name Sierra Mist is really, really weird, and I'm not a big fan. Anyways, that's it for the Megas. I guess we'll just keep it like this, right? Do that. It's prettier this way. Also, we gotta make sure the fancy artwork's on the outside. We'll talk about this. I'm only playing 2 Chaosmon. Once again, this deck is excellent without the Chaosmon. I think Chaosmon pushes it to top tier, but the Chaosmon is also, once again, another brick. And you don't want to have these bricks, especially when it's going to lose you the game. The other problem with Chaosmon is that it's a white card. Being a white card means that you can't grab it off TK unless you're getting rid of one of your own security. Perfectly fine if you're doing that really early in the game. Really bad if your opponent activates TK in security and your only other card in security is Chaosmon. And it's not great. So I'm playing less, especially now that I'm playing Mastamon too. Less Chaosmon is fine. 2 Chaosmon does the job. I think 2 Chaosmon is good enough, right? I am playing 3 TK. So, I have a problem with 3 TK. I love 3 TK. I think 3 TK is good. My problem is it either feels like too much or not enough. And every time. I always, in my locals, right? Every time I play in my locals, I feel like I've opened it. I feel like I've like opened it like 80% of the time. It feels that high. But against the core TCG tournament, I don't think I ever opened it. I think maybe once. It's so weird. It's such a weird card. 3 is fine. I don't think I want to play 4. I don't think 4 is even necessary. But it's also really good, and I wouldn't be mad if people are playing 4 because like it's just a free search card. But once again, the problem with TK, especially now that I'm playing Patamon, is that I have to keep that in mind. There's more cards in my deck. There's 4 cards now in my deck that are not yellow cards, so TK can't actually grab those cards unless I actually am willing to sacrifice a memory, which sometimes, or security, which sometimes is good. I keep repeating myself, but you guys get the idea. And because my deck is already inherently consistent, because I'm playing the 15 rookies and whatnot, I don't really need to use the TK all the time, but it is good because you really want to make sure you have 3 memory when you play this deck, because 3 memory is how you proc all your effects. It's just really strong. And then last and not least, I'm only playing 2 Blinding Ray. It pairs well with the 3 Agumons I'm playing. It pushes security, it pushes your memory so that you can make big plays sometimes, but once again, it just feels like another brick a lot. Like, it's just not a Digimon card, and sometimes having a Digimon card is just better than this. The good thing about Blinding Ray is that if you find it early, you get to activate, and you evolve into Wargreymon, you're already activating the effects if you have Angelomon underneath, right? Which is great. So, that's really good. I really want to play 3. I can't cut anything, at least the way I've been playing the deck so far. And this might change with time because, like I said, I've played so many iterations of this deck. Like I said, Slash heavy, Rookie heavy, no Magnadramon, no Lucemon, testing with my friends Lucemon, and did okay. 3 Chaosmons, no Angelomon, 2 Angelomon, 9 Ultimates. I played this deck in so many different ways, and this is the deck that I'm stuck with at the moment, and that could change one day. We'll see in the future, but I'm very happy with this list so far. It's been doing very well for me. Of course, the Patamon is a new addition, so I'll let you guys know over Twitter or something on how good I think Patamon is. But that's going to be my Wargreymon list. As far as like the matchups go, it's Wargreymon is very like obvious. Just make sure that you can control the board. Make sure your opponent doesn't have too much memory. You have a lot of memory control in this list, and just be careful. Don't overextend. Know how to extend. Make sure that you always have options on your board for follow-up. That's a big thing in this deck. Like, try to make sure you have Salamons on the board if you have 3 or less security, or if you're going to go to 4 or something like that. Just make sure you have options. You don't just want to swing willy-nilly. You also have to be careful about restanding and stuff like that, and just don't play into things. Like, don't play into Nidhogg. This deck plays into Nidhogg if you're not careful. The cool thing about Wargreymon is that it can restand. So a lot of the time, if I'm playing against green, I never leave myself rested. And I try to make sure my lower DP guys aren't on the board at all times. Just a suggestion there as well. Try to make sure you play around Omnimon Alter S. Try to make sure you play around D-Digivolution in general. Try to make sure you play around Nidhoggmon. That's my suggestion when you're playing yellow. But overall, this deck is excellent, and I'm a big fan of it. Now, a little bit of self-promotion here. Like the video if you haven't already, subscribe, show, like good jazz. I actually just started selling cards on TCG Player, and if you guys don't know about what TCG Player does, I mean, obviously we all know what it does, but if you guys don't know what it does as far as what it does for new sellers, is that you have to like do a lot of selling in order to level up your store so that you can provide better benefits in the future. And if you guys want to purchase something, I have a Wargreymon in there for sale. I have a few yellow cards in there for sale. Generally, I try to make everything lower than what people are selling in general, because I just want to get rid of my stuff. I'm going to check out maybe in this. Yeah. Like the stream, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe, share, all that good jazz. Check me out on Twitch as well. Twitch.ABAURABOMB or AURABOMB, one of the two. I always forget. And subscribe if you haven't already. Guys, in my big video, the 13 decks to play in set 4, only 80% of viewers aren't subscribed. Hit that bell. Hit that subscription. Support the channel. Support the boy. It was always really appreciated. And I'll see you guys next time.